Hi, my name is Brady Perger. I'm the CEO of Blacksmith Print Co., and you're listening to the Workflows Photography Podcast.
Zac, I am really excited to talk with you today about all the things workflows of what's going well, what's not going well, what you're looking to improve, and whatever else winds up coming up in this conversation. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm enjoying a nice 70-degree Florida day.
So jealous. So jealous. We'll get there here in New Jersey sometime in the next month, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And then I'll be begging you to let me come stay with you while it's 200 degrees here.
Yeah. and super humid. Yeah. Now's the time to go down and visit Florida. In like a month or two, it's the time you want to get out of Florida.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm excited about this. We're going to dive right into the first thing that you say is working well in your photography business. And what I really like about what you shared with me is that, well, you also shared about this a little bit in the Imagine community. So let's talk about this mobile aspect. Can you share this idea of mobile working really well in your workflow?
Yeah, so the big thing that's changed for me, I was based in Boston, lived there for 15 years, moved to Orlando about 3 years ago now. So I've been traveling a lot, whether it's for weddings, event photography, or also we have a photo booth company that we do headshots with. So I'm on the road a lot. Last year I flew 66 times. So being on the road so much, I was really like, I want to prioritize my time at home. I want to be at home rather than be on my computer working. So the thing I really committed to was trying to work as much as I can on flights. You know, people watch movies, people do whatever. I have a Steam Deck. I use it every once in a while, but if I could get most of my work done on a flight, that's my goal. Because then when I get to be home, I get to see my friends, I get to go to theme parks, I get to play with my dog, whatever. So the big thing for me was imagine being able to do my culling, do my editing, you know, rather than outsourcing it like I was previously. And then figuring out like optimizing literally everything, whether it be simple stuff like my toiletry bag is always packed. I never have to pack it. Like it's just, I have 2 of everything, to the more extreme stuff, which I shared in the community, which involves wearing AR glasses on planes, which is a huge difference. You know, when Apple Vision Pros came out, I really wanted them because I was like, that's sick. You can work on a giant screen anywhere, but it was $3,500 or whatever it costs. And then you need a battery. It's a whole thing. And then I was able to get my hands on these guys.
Yeah.
So with a USB-C cable, I'm able to pop these on.
Just share the name of them, just so if anybody who's not watching.
They're called
I'll include the link in the show notes as well.
They're called X-Real glasses, and they look a little crazy. Like it looks like you just got your eyes dilated, but I still think it's less crazy than the Apple Vision.
Yes, I think it's a very different look. One is futuristic look. The Apple Vision Pros are very futuristic looking. These are, I don't even know how to explain it. It's more like if almost, I hate to say it, but almost like a blind person sunglasses that are just overly big, really dark tinted.
Yeah.
So you can't see the eyes at all, which is obviously for the screen aspect. They should be tinted, but
exactly. And you know what? Like after traveling so much, I kind of don't care anymore about looking cool. You know, like it's just like whatever is going to be easiest. And like no one is judging me on this plane. They're in their own world, and I'm never going to see any of them again.
You know what's funny about that is that I would almost guarantee, and tell me if this has ever happened, you're on a plane and you're wearing them and somebody taps you on the shoulder and interrupts you and says, "What? Those are funny looking sunglasses. What is going on?" And then you explain, you let them maybe try it, and they're like, "Okay, that's cool." You know, like it might look funny until they get their hands on it, and then it makes sense of why.
Oh yeah,
looking funny.
There's so many uses for them. I wish I was sponsored. I'm not sponsored. They don't know me. They don't give me anything. But like literally we had friends fly down to bring their daughter to Universal, and she was really excited about the roller coasters, and she was like, but like, what do they do? And we're like, I put on POV videos while she was wearing the glasses.
Yeah.
And so she felt like she was there, and she was fully prepared when we took her to Universal. She was like, okay, this roller coaster does this, I'm ready. And I was like, great. Yeah. So.
And they only plug into a laptop, or can
it's
you plug
USB-C.
into a phone?
It's anything.
Okay,
so I've done it phone, Steam Deck. I assume you're like Nintendo Switch or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's wild.
That's cool. Okay, so just to get this straight, you're in a hotel. You just went somewhere for a wedding. You shot the wedding. You're in your hotel. You send it to Imagen to Cole to edit. Next day or that night, whatever it is, you're hopping back on the plane. You've already got all your stuff packed. You're very efficient with your packing because you travel a ton. And you get right on the plane. You sit down. You put on these glasses. And what is happening now? Like, what are you doing on these glasses while on the plane?
Doing a second round call. Like, Imagen does an incredible job of giving me that first run through. And then I go through and fine tune it. You know, the first thing I'm doing after a wedding is getting sneak peeks out, but I still let Imagen do that first run. And then I go through, you know, however many it left me with. And then I'm really knocking them out. Like, I'm big on the loop mode on Lightroom. So if you select multiple photos, you hit N. That way you're able to kind of pick and reject while looking at it next to each other. And it does a nice thing where it's like you have 6 photos. You cross one out, they all get a little bigger. You cross one out, they all get a little bigger. And I just try to grab ones that's like similar situations, similar scenarios. And I don't cull linearly anymore. I just jump around. I just truly am just like, let's see what's easy to cull out real quick. And then I'll go through with a fine tooth comb. And then my third round of culling is like putting it into a collection, organizing it the way I want the gallery to look. And that really helps because then you're like, okay, all the details are together rather than them being spread out throughout the day. Because you might have shot the room in the morning, but then shot the place settings later. But those should be next to each other in the gallery. So seeing them next to each other really helps finally go through that. And then I run it through my edits and like, I rarely have to do much else. Like, very fortunate. I go through everything just because, you know, just to make sure. And I make my own black and whites. But when I'm ever converting to black and white, I always make a virtual copy. So the client is still getting the photo in both color and black and white after years of people being like, hey, can I get this one in color? I was just like, yeah, let me just give you everything in color.
Right. Before we move on to the next thing that's going well, I'm curious, as somebody who does travel a lot, what is a travel tip that you would share with photographers that you wish that you knew before you started traveling in the volume that you're doing?
So very early on, I learned this lesson the hard way, and that's do not leave your stuff in a car. I was in Miami to photograph a good friend of mine's wedding, and I stopped for lunch, and someone came in and goes, hey, anyone who's parked out back, someone just broke into all of your cars. So an hour, 2 hours before a wedding, I had all of my gear stolen. And that's why I keep everything on me at all times. And so that's my advice is like, even if it's inconvenience, exercise caution. You know what I mean? It's so stupid. It's so annoying to bring all my camera gear into a restaurant, but whatever. It's so much more annoying to have to find camera gear in an hour.
Yeah, it's also a good reason to do your absolute best to consolidate into wheeled, draggable items like storage and or wearable storage, backpacks, slings, and good roller bags that you can yourself carry everything if you are by yourself, right?
Exactly. I'm a backpack and a sling bag guy. That's all I go to weddings with. I don't do light stands. I don't do tripods. It's hard to fly with that stuff.
Your strobes. You do strobes? You do like bounce flash?
I'm
what do you
all
do
on camera flash.
Interesting. Okay.
The times I go off camera with the new ProPhoto flash, the little wireless thing, I do handheld a bunch. Really inspired by like some of the the bigger like paparazzi type photographers that are going now, like Strange Victory. I don't even know his real name, but he's my favorite. His stuff is incredible, and like seeing the way that off-camera flash really gives a really cool look without being like, here's the direct flash everyone is doing. I love it.
Nice. Strange Victory, Sina Nasseri.
Cool.
That's the name.
Dude's incredible. His stuff from the Oscars over the weekend is just like, how are you so good?
Right.
Like, it's easy to take photos of beautiful people. You know what I mean? I see all these photographers in California with like model couples in perfect light, and it's like, cool. Are you good, or are you just photographing beautiful people? But like, he takes this art of photographing beautiful people and like does something interesting with it, you know?
Yeah. It's always nice to see when people have like this absolutely perfect situation, and then they take that perfect situation to a whole new level. So it's really nice to see. Let's dig into the second thing that's been going well in your workflow. And I know that we've sort of briefly touched on it. I don't want to talk too much about Imagen, but you did mention outsourcing and automation. What else in your business are you outsourcing? Are you automating to help make it, your workflow, your systems, and your processes just more efficient?
Yeah, the big thing kind of on computer end is I like use a lot of text expander, which is like, instead of typing my email, something simple, I just type in like semicolon EM, and that fills in my email. And then from that small version all the way to full email responses. You know, when I have like, I send the same email to every couple, you know, after the wedding, but I have it so I could just type in a couple letters, and it's like, here's what it is. And I plug in the stuff that needs to be custom, and then it's done. You know, everything like that's something that saves minutes, but those minutes add up. Like after 15 years, if I'm saving, you know, 10 minutes a month, so it's 120 minutes a year. So 120 times 15, like that's a lot of time. So stuff like that, like I said, before I was outsourcing, but integrating AI into my systems has really, really changed that. And the quality is, you know, is more consistent than it was with people because it's an AI that I trained, and I don't have to wait 3 weeks for it to get back to me. So it's like, if I'm running late and don't start working on a wedding until, you know, a week before it's due, I'm good. No problem. Yeah. So that's been really nice. You know, other stuff that's like automating is just like stuff like Better Touch Tool, just like truly taking the dumb little stuff and figuring out ways to do it smarter. It's one of the nice things my wife says about me. She's like, you're really good at figuring out when to make your life easier. I'm like, it's out of laziness. like truly something. I mean,
it's true. That's part of, I could definitely see that for myself as well. Part of it is I'm tired of doing this over and over again. You know what? I have 3 hours. Let me just figure out if I can automate it. If I can, I just save myself, you know, excess amount of time. If I didn't, oh well.
My great recent accomplishment is PixieSet doesn't allow you to mass remove tags from galleries. And I was like reorganizing my galleries and stuff and trying to go back in. And I was like, I need to completely get rid of this one tag. And then I figured out a way to hit one button on my keyboard. The mouse moves to a certain spot, clicks it, waits 2 seconds, moves to another spot, clicks another thing. So I went through like 200 galleries in like 10 minutes.
Nice.
While I was like watching a TV show on my other monitor. You know, and it's like, it's stuff like that. Like the part of the business that needs you is the creativity, is the interaction. Like, file management should not be taking up that much of your time. It should be automated. You should be, when you import it, automatically imports to 2 places. It automatically does certain things. And that way there's no human error. You know, I meet photographers when I'm like mentoring and stuff, and they're like, yeah, I just, you know, I shoot, you know, a bunch of small cards in case one goes corrupt. And I'm like, but what's more likely? You lose an SD card or an SD card goes corrupt?
Right.
And the answer is human error. Because especially if you're a professional and you're shooting on a 2-card camera, if one goes corrupt, you're still good.
Yep.
So
true. The idea of it importing into multiple places is a very, very big thing for me, that as somebody who gets anxiety from potential loss, because I've had the loss in the past. So I have my Lightroom. It imports directly to an SSD. I use Carbon Copy Cloner, which immediately has the same SSD. Literally, so I have one attached to one monitor in the back, one attached to the other monitor in the back, hidden because, again, just like that thing's neat and tidy when I can.
Yeah.
And so it's Carbon Copy Cloner is immediately, when it sees that the import is done and like the drive is silent, so to speak, it clones the SSD to the other, so it's up to date. But then I have it, as soon as I turn on a RAID that's like a foot away, Carbon Copy Cloner starts cloning that to the SSD to that, and then Backblaze is running in the background. So it's like immediately I have this redundancy happening over and over and over again.
And those SSDs,
so important.
Yeah, and those SSDs are more reliable than just keeping your SD cards in a little envelope.
Yeah. Yep.
And like, I'm the same. Like the only thing I use Photo Mechanic for anymore is just ingesting, because it can ingest to 2 different sources and does all my renaming for me. And I probably don't need it. I think I could do all the same stuff in Lightroom now, but it's paid for, so why mess with it?
Right.
It's not like I have to renew a subscription. Exactly. I used to cull in Photo Mechanic because I was convinced it was faster, and like now I've learned some stuff and I'm all in on Lightroom.
Cool. Yeah. So let's shift gears and talk about something that you don't have quite where you want it. You're struggling with this part of your workflow and you're working towards improving it. You mentioned to me it was related to personal brand work. So are you saying for your own brand, or you're trying to shoot more personal brand work?
No, just for, being in front of camera guy.
Mm-hmm.
I struggle. It's okay. As a older, as a millennial at this point, it's like I did not grow up talking to my phone. I was not an on-camera guy. I did theater for years, but I was a behind-the-scenes guy. I was a stage manager. I directed, all that stuff. So, thinking in advance to shoot behind the scenes and do all this type of stuff and be, talk about personal experiences, it's like I have to force myself. And it's funny because the few times it's those types of videos I have forced myself, out of the handful of times I've done it, the times it goes really well is when I end up talking about really dorky shit that has nothing to do with photography. I had a video go viral about a statue at Epcot that I was really into. It's a whole thing. There's a pizza place in Epcot, and from the inside you can see a statue of a frog dressed as a pilot. I had thought about it. I had spent a lot of time thinking about it. I took pictures of it. I asked people no one knew, so I posted on Instagram, and it got 80,000 views or something like that. And some big Disney influencer picked it up and did the research for me and figured it out, and it was great.
Oh, so you got the answer.
I got the answer. It was fortunate. I was like, I'm just worried it's like a Mussolini thing, and I'm gonna get a tattoo of a pilot frog, and it's gonna be fascist. So the good news is it's just whimsical. It's just happiness. So the pilot frogs of the world are safe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's putting myself out there like that. It's remembering to. My brain is already going at 1,000 miles a minute on a wedding day, so remembering to shoot behind the scenes footage is truly my last thing, because I'm I want to take care of my clients. The clients are the most important part of today. So I try to get my...
Yeah, I just had a discussion with a friend of mine who's local, who is also trying to do more of the social media marketing for his business, and I suggested to just, even if you don't need an assistant, to just hire an assistant for the day, and their only focus is capture BTS for you, right? Assistants don't have to be second shooters.
Right.
They don't have to be a content creator. They just got to be able to hold your phone and hit record. My daughter is 10, and she would pay me to come with me on my photo sessions and capture BTS. So finding an assistant who's, let's say it is a photographer that is in going to a college, like a county college down by you, right? And they're hungry to like get the experience, but you don't trust them enough because they don't have the experience to actually second shoot for you.
Right.
If you've got a local wedding in the Orlando area, right?
Yeah.
To hire them and say, hey, you can shadow me, but I also need you to record BTS with my phone or with a GoPro or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's
Huge
not a
win
bad
right
idea.
there.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I have some experience doing that. My wife had a coworker whose girlfriend was moving to Boston and had a little bit of interest in photography. And that person spent a full year third shooting for me, coming to weddings. We would go through and I'd review their photos. And now they're like, every time we do a wedding together, it's, we've been shooting together for 10 years now. And it's just like getting to work together is incredible. And watching their photography grow, because they like weddings, whatever. They kind of get to come and do weddings with me and get their money and then go do like the art that Allie creates is just like, oh, cool. Like this is where this got you. Like, not that I was the reason that they got there, but like the fact I could have helped, it makes me feel really good. I feel like always very proud of them.
It's just, when I was in college and a little bit after college, until I got my first full-time job, I was assisting for 2 local fashion portrait photographers. They weren't like runway fashion. They were, either in a studio or they'd rent out a beautiful mansion and photograph. And I'm talking like the full-on airbrush and everything, right? It was so much fun. But I, to this day, give them so much credit to helping me learn about light and the equipment, because I was never behind the camera. I was the henchman who would go and grab the lens out of the bag and hand it to them, or move the light where they want it, or set up the next light, or whatever it is. I never touched the camera, but I learned so much about the business and light and equipment just from being there and helping and not getting paid too much, but it was something. It was also 20-ish years ago, so times have changed, of course, but it's such a valuable tool for anybody, especially in college. So that could be a good way for you to do that. Plus, sorry, you go ahead before I share my next thought.
I think that it's super beneficial for anyone to watch someone work. Early on in my career, I second shot for a ton of people, and getting to see all the different styles and learning to shoot in those styles is what helped me create my style. But one of the biggest things I always stress upon, like, there is a barrier to being a male wedding photographer. Like, it is a bride focused industry. I photograph couples of all genders, truly all across the gambit. But the main person that wedding photographers turn is brides. And getting to work with female wedding photographers and seeing the way they interact with brides helped me understand how to make people comfortable. You know what I mean? Just like different things I would never think of. And it's like, oh yeah, the first thing I do when I walk in the room is compliment the bride on something. You know what I mean? Just be like, this looks great. You look great. Something. Just like start on that positive note. And that really has helped me, because I work with a ton of couples who are just like, we've never been, like most people, we've never been in front of cameras. We feel super awkward in front of cameras. And I'm like, that's great. I'm here to fix that. Like, let's have fun.
Yeah. I do something similar when I don't photograph families as often these days, but when I was doing a lot of family sessions, I would always have my wife with me when they had kids, because I'm trying to focus on the composition and everything like that. And I don't have even as a dad of 2, I don't have the patience to deal with the kids for the families. So my wife would be the kid wrangler and like the one to get them smiling and all that stuff. And I would just be there focusing on what I need to focus on. So I think having somebody who relates more to the subjects is a very valuable tool as well. The one thing I wanted to mention as another thing, and I don't know if you've considered doing this, but actually having a personal brand session of yourself. We all do self-portraits, right? I mean, it's fun. It's fun as a photographer, but it's also a learning thing, right? you make mistakes when you're doing self-portraits. You got to correct them, and then a lot of running back and forth. But actually paying somebody to do a personal brand session, it's a whole different vibe, right? Yeah. Have you done one? Have you thought about doing one?
I've never done one. I think the professional photos I've used, we try to do like couple sessions. Like in addition, and it's fun because we do it when we're traveling. I know we both are friends with Sam Hurd. We ended up being in Rome at the same time as him, and he was like, "Do you guys want me to take photos?" We were like, "Yeah, dude!" Like, so we like hung out with him around Rome. That was fun. And then we had, our wedding photos are kind of, even though they're old and I'm much different looking since then, 8 years ago. Steve from Mexico just like killed it. Watching him
photograph your wedding?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, so jealous.
Yeah, it was.
I got married in Mexico at a resort that he photographs at often, but it was 14 years ago, almost 14 years ago, and I didn't know him then.
Yeah.
I totally would have had him do it. Anyway, keep going.
I met him at Mystic when it was in Connecticut back in the day.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yes. I'm dating myself. And then when
it's sort of back, by the way, that event is sort of back.
But is it back in Portland or is it back in Connecticut?
It's in Mystic, Connecticut, but it's now people who were like Chris Stiles. I don't know if he was part of the Mystic seminars originally, but he was somehow involved. It's now he's running. It's called Lens and Light.
That's awesome.
It just happened. It was actually last week.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out for next year. Because like New England had that, and it was cool for all these New England people to get together. And then they're like, let's move to Portland. And it was like, well, there's already 6 conventions in Portland. Like, why do we need another one? Again, dating myself to when Portland was the hip spot. But yeah, so Fair shot our wedding. And not only, I mean, this relates back to what you're saying, like watching him work. The reason we hired him is his style is so different than mine. Yeah. I would watch him do stuff and Beck would be like, what is he doing? I go, I have no idea. I have truly no clue what this photo is going to look like because our styles are so wildly different. And there's like one photo he took and I'm like, I love that photo. And Beck goes, that's a photo you would take. I'm like, oh yeah.
So fun story. We're recording this beginning of March. The end of February, my nephew, he turned 13 not long ago and he just had his bar mitzvah.
L'chaim.
Very unconventional American bar mitzvah. It wasn't the typical over the top thing. It was partially over the top, but not extremely. And my sister-in-law and my brother asked me, who should we hire for his bar mitzvah? And I gave him a list of friends that are local. And they wound up hiring William Madwin. Mm-hmm. And so I get to the temple the morning of the bar mitzvah, and I walk in and I see William's girlfriend as the assistant. His girlfriend, Susan Stripling. So she wasn't booked, so she came. They surprised me, and she spent the whole day photographing, just hanging, literally holding his light stand, playing the assistant role. During the party, she actually picked up her camera and was shooting as well. But it was as a photographer, as somebody who's been in the industry for a long time, you, as you just said, you can't help but to pay attention to what they're doing, how they're doing. And at one point I'm standing there and Susan looks at me and she says, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I really want to help. Like, I'm here, and even though I'm here as an uncle, and I really want to help hold the light stand or move this, or it's you. Yeah,
that's me at every wedding where I don't know that. Like when friends don't have me help with their photographer search, I'm just staring at the photographer and being like, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that?
Right.
They should be over there. They missed this. But I would love to see how Susan Stripling photographs kids playing Coke and Pepsi in 2025.
Well, they didn't have that. But
no?
It was it was the party was actually at a brewery and restaurant here in New Jersey. And so there was no dancing actually at all. It wasn't really was not your typical bar mitzvah party. The kids had their own room where they had they had Karate Kid playing and they had Back to the Future playing on a big screen.
It's a cool kid.
And there was like a buffet style food for everybody, and then there was like a lot of tables for the 50 something plus adults that were
Right.
sitting there and cafeteria style. It was fun. And the photos, I saw the sneak peeks already. They came out fantastic. So
awesome. Did you have a bar
yeah.
mitzvah?
I did have a bar mitzvah. Yeah.
What was your theme?
It was. So I was, as we were discussing before we recorded, I was a musician before I switched to photography. So it was a music themed, but not a cool kid music themed. It was like my tables. You know, you give nicknames to all the tables. Mm-hmm. My table was the piano man. So it was literally like Billy Joel and Elton John, and my parents picked the music.
That's a good one.
I mean, it was fun. My cake literally had a clarinet on it. So because I played clarinet in high school.
The coolest of instruments.
The coolest of instruments.
You never got to bust out your clarinet in a pop punk band?
No, but I actually got into Berkeley College of Music playing it. So I was good.
There you go. You could be the king of clarinet. Who knows?
I could be. I haven't picked it up in years. Anyway, so let's actually shift into music for a second since we're here, right?
Yeah.
You were telling me before we hit record that you started by photographing bands, as did I. Mm-hmm. Can you share that story of who you were photographing, what you were photographing, how you were doing it, and how that shifted into weddings?
Yeah. So going back to like 2005, I was a part of like the punk hardcore scene in South Florida. Like I grew up in Boca Raton. Most of the shows I went to were in Miami and West Palm because those are like the major cities. So I wanted to like contribute. I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to do all that stuff. Turns out I have no musical talent. I was not a clarinet whiz. I was not a guitar player. I was nothing. So
that wouldn't have got you very far in the punk hardcore scene anyway.
Listen, there's flute on a hardcore record from last year, so you're missing out. But yeah, so like I was like, okay, like what can I do? And no one was really shooting shows at that point, at least in South Florida. Like, so I started bringing my dad's like Canon PowerShot to shows. And leaving it, I think it only had automatic. Like I don't know what else it had. And then I remembered, I'd post them on like our message boards. And then I started a Flickr. And that was like my big, like, this is the source of all my photos. And then I figured out how to do shutter drag on the PowerShot. And that was like, what is he doing? This is so cool. Like people loved him. And then
very, very, very common punk band style photos.
Yes. And then my 18th birthday, I was given a Canon Rebel. And that's the reason when people ask me why I shoot Canon, I said, because I started with Canon and I'm too lazy to change. Yep. And I started shooting more shows and like, shirts would have my photos on them, records and stuff. And then in 2007, I moved up to Boston where the hardcore scene there was like kind of at an all-time high. Bands like Have Heart and Verse and The Carrier and all that stuff were kind of blowing up from that area. And there was a national message board that everyone would kind of check in on what Boston shows were doing. And I kind of grew a name from that, which was really cool. I'm very fortunate that my real name is Zac Wolf. So it's very easy to remember. It's very easy to spell. So people, and like back in that day, we would watermark all the photos. So everyone knew my name because it was on there. And you should see my first watermark because it is incredibly cringy.
Weren't they all?
Yes. It was like a big X with just a photo of a Canon Rebel over it.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. And then from that, it was just like, I was trying to mix it up and try to shoot bands different ways and figuring out like, okay, like I'm in this shitty basement. How can I make it look interesting? Or, started doing off-camera flash at shows, which is now pretty common. But at the time, like there weren't many of us doing that. Yeah. And then through that, someone was just like, hey, can you shoot a wedding? I was like, yeah, I've never been to one, but I could figure it out. And like, I just saw so much creative potential in weddings, and I've always been like a big extrovert my whole life. So it was more of a chance to like get to be with people. You know what I mean? Like people make a living shooting still life and shooting products. I would rip my hair out. Like the joy I get from this business is people. And that's part of why I automate the stuff that doesn't need me, is because that's not the stuff I love. And I can spend more time doing the part I love because of that. So,
right.
Yeah.
So I got my start. I still have it back there. It's over there. An Olympus point and shoot that actually had some manual control and a PC port for flash. So I could actually like have a off-camera flash wired. So I would hold
the old wire around your neck. And
oh yeah. I was also doing shutter drag, so it's very similar. To differentiate my photos from others in the New Jersey punk scene, I would actually incorporate every band I was photographing. I would have photos of their feet, because guitar pedals, bass pedals, tuners, whether it's Converse All Stars or Vans or whatever, the band Penfold, they would actually wear like black shoes, like dress shoes, or like Doc Martens, So everybody had their own style, and it was like a cool way to remember that band by their shoes. It was just a fun thing. So
you got to do something weird. If you're, everyone's shooting the exact same thing, how are you going to stand out? Like I remember the year that I went in 2008, I went to Sound and Fury, which is a big fest in California. And that was the year they were like, hey guys, you have to get approval to shoot this show because there's too many photographers now. And it was like the first year they had like a media pass for a hardcore show. And it was just like, and now it's like standard, like even local shows, you like need to, the rule used to be like, if I don't know where to find your photos, you don't get to take photos. Cause people would show up, take photos, then you just never see them again. And I mean, now luckily with Instagram and stuff, like it's been amazing. It's so great that like, I like as a fan of band photography, it's been fun to just like follow bands and then they'll collab with photographers, so you see it in their feed, and it's like the quality of band photography out there now is so high. Like the bar is so much higher than it was back in our day. Like you could get away with next to nothing. And now it's just like you have to be doing something cool and you have to have your take on it.
I'm at the point now where, like, for example, Matt Pryor from the Get Up Kids is coming back to New Jersey very soon to do it's a solo tour that he's doing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go, but do I want to go with my camera? It's literally at a brewery, small one. So I'm like going to be like right up close. There's no stage. Do I want to bring a camera and photograph or video, or do I want to just go and enjoy it? Right? I know that I won't need a media pass because there is no stage to worry about. It's like a open mic night almost, except it's scheduled. So I'm just going to enjoy. But if he said, hey, come to the Get Up Kid show next time we're around and we'll get you a media pass, I would go and photograph it. But it's at this stage of my life, I'm picky. I'm picky about when I want to bring the camera.
That back to Have Heart. They were just kind of like the important band for me in my life, and especially my life as a photographer, because I photographed them all through my time in Boston. Their final show was like kind of like my last time really shooting bands, like heavily. And then I photographed their first reunion when there were 10,000 people outside in Worcester, Massachusetts, which was incredible. And then they just did a reunion this past year, and they reach out and they're like, did you want to shoot this? And I'm like, you know what? I've seen you guys probably 100 times and I've never just watched. So no, like, thank you for the offer. But like, I'm going to stage dive to Have Heart for the first time in my life. And it was incredibly awesome to get to do that and see it. And like, they killed it with all their reunions, but I did hurt myself a little bit, but it's fine.
I had to make that decision recently as well. Same brewery, this one brewery that's an hour and a half north of me started doing shows, which a lot of them are reunions or like comebacks and stuff like that. So Cave-In, they disbanded a while back. Cave-In, they're satellites on my leg, by the way. It's one of my tattoos.
Very cool.
So they disbanded. They lost their bassist in a tragic car accident. They've done like a comeback sort of. And Stephen Brodsky, the lead singer, and Adam McGrath, who's their lead guitarist, they did an acoustic show at this brewery. And again, I'm like, do I bring my camera or do I just go and enjoy it? So I just went and enjoyed it because they are my absolute favorite. And of course, I whipped out my phone and recorded a couple songs. But I'm not looking at my phone. I literally put it down and I'm just like, watching and absorbing and whatnot. And you have to do that. You have to make the decisions of when do I pay attention and when do I actually look through the LCD of my screen of my camera. And I think that decision to just enjoy that last show was a very smart decision.
It's funny because getting away from bands, like we go to Disney, we live like 30 minutes from Disney, we go all the time, and like watching people spend 15 minutes recording a video of the fireworks when there's HD tripod footage on YouTube already. Like just watch the fireworks. Like you fought tooth and nail for a good spot. Your kid is on your shoulders. Like just watch the fireworks. You're not going to go back and watch this video.
Right. Totally. Like, to me, it's like I'd rather watch my kids' facial expressions. Than that. I don't even care about watching the fireworks. I want to see the facial expressions of my kid enjoying the fireworks. So I just a last comment is I watched all the 1 through 9 Star Wars movies with my daughter, who's now 10. She, at her request, we watched them in order. And there's key moments of the movie. You know, I've seen it 1 billion times, but there's these key moments where I just watched her reaction to the movie for different parts, where she does that shock face, and I'm like, that's the important moments right there, not necessarily watching the movie again for the billionth time. So, Zac, this has been fantastic. I learned so much about you before we even hit record, and since. So it's been a blast. Can you share with the listeners the best place to find you, to connect with you, and of course to see your awesome photography?
Yeah, everything. I'm very fortunate to have branded myself very early. Everything is Zac X Wolf, ZAC Wolf. That's my website. That's my Instagram. That's my TikTok. Find me anywhere. I try to be really accessible to people. If you're coming through Orlando, like, please say hi. And yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
You have been listening to the Workflows Photography Podcast. To hear more from Workflows, to learn more about our guest, and for an exclusive offer for Workflows listeners, please go to workflowspodcast.com. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time.